What's going on, people? TJ here. If you're new to the channel or you're a regular subscriber, I'd really appreciate it if you sit back, relax and watch this video all the way to the end. 1, for the algorithm, 2, so I know that you've taken it in and listened fully to the deep expose that you know your boy is about to drop on your ed piece. You know we stay exposed in the darkness on this channel. I'll see you lot at the end of the video. Bosh!
Early in the morning.
The BBC has always been shrouded in controversy. It's an organisation that historically has hired, nurtured and protected pedos. For decades we have seen countless celebrities and big names be exposed as kiddie fiddlers and predators. I can only imagine how many kids, boys and girls have been traumatized and even potentially taken their lives over the trauma that they've endured. Decades of abuse. Jimmy Savile, for instance, was a prolific pedo who allegedly raped up to 450 children. So in this video, we are going to explore the many predators that have worked for BBC, and guys, there's a lot of them. But not only that, we're going to look at what BBC did or failed to do. I have to be careful with my words here, but allegedly they did absolutely fuck all to help these victims and stop what these predators were doing. They nurtured, allegedly, an environment where these predators could flourish, and they turned a blind eye. And you're going to see that the BBC is essentially a pedo ring where all the predators that I talk about, they either know each other or they've dealt with similar kids and whatnot. It's disgusting. So the first predator we're going to talk about is Hugh Edwards. Now, Hugh Edwards has been one of the most recent BBC employees to be exposed for the madness, just like Timmy Noncewood, Tim Molestwood. Hugh Edwards was the face of BBC News, very famous, very popular. In 2023, Edwards was arrested on suspicion of receiving indecent images of children via WhatsApp with a convicted and known pedo who went by the name of Alex Williams. He was charged last year, 2024, in June. He pled guilty to possessing 7 Category A images, 12 Category B images and 22 Cat C images of children at Westminster Court. Now check this, despite there being major public interest in Edwards' case, the charges and his upcoming court appearance were not revealed to the public at the time, as is typical practice. Because apparently it's typical practice to protect pedos in the UK. People who ruin the lives of children, traumatize children to the point that they may even take their own lives, they get protected. I wonder why that is. The person he was receiving WhatsApp pictures from, as I mentioned, was the name Alex Williams. He sent 41 indecent images to Hugh Edwards, including 2 of a child as young as 7, ending his career after police found the newsreader's number on his phone. A BBC staffer who said Hugh Edwards sent them inappropriate messages said Star's child P conviction makes them feel sick, as pressure grows on boss Tim Davie to release internal inquiry findings. Now, if you don't know who Tim Davie is, guys, Tim Davie is the Director General of BBC, and he claims that bosses are not sitting on anything. They're not sitting on any additional information. But staffers who complained about Hugh Edwards want to see the internal inquiry. Where was the inquiry? Make it known. So we've got Tim Davie allegedly saying they're not sitting on any information, but their own staff members are saying, we want an internal investigation. What's happening here? Let's find out more. Speaking to Newsnight anonymously, one of the staffers in the BBC said it has been deeply disappointing for the details of the report to have not been made public, or to know what other people have experienced what you have. So you know how many other people this has affected. It has made me feel totally isolated. I felt more reassurances by speaking to the media as a trusted source than I have dealing with the BBC directly. It shouldn't be this way. How alarming is that? That a BBC staff member felt more comfortable talking to the media than the BBC, talking about their own experiences in the BBC. And their own staff members want answers on what's happening in the BBC with Hugh Edwards, what's happening with a known nonce, a convicted pedo. We're just scratching the surface. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to get deep. We're going to get very, very deep, and you're going to see that the BBC constantly fails to investigate their own, and as I said, nurture an environment in which all these disgusting people can thrive. Now, the next person on our list is extremely famous, and you're going to know exactly who it is. Jimmy Savile. Now, Jimmy Savile is one of the biggest monsters in Hollywood and UK show business. As I said earlier in the video, he has essayed up to 450 children and probably more. Savile was one of the most protected predators ever by the BBC. A police commander said that Savile's offending peaked in the 70s, and what we can show or will be showing in the new year is how he used his position in society across the country, and he exploited this position for his gratification. We can see here, similar to Tim Davie, the general director of the BBC now, that senior managers within the BBC back then, particularly the radio setup, who had the information, and that included Savile's former BBC producer Ted Beston. Dame Janet Smith's report found that he was a provider of young women for Savile, whom he admired, and that he knew the presenter had casual intercourse with teenage girls. So we can see here that a BBC producer and senior members of the organisation were very much aware of what Savile was doing. Once again, did nothing about it. He died a hero in many people's eyes. It was only after he died that this all came to light. There was even a Labour MP called Tom Watson who actually said that the police should be investigating a pedo ring in higher places. Mr. Watson said in October that police should investigate claims of a powerful ring linked to a previous Prime Minister's senior advisor and Parliament. We know this. I've actually done 2 videos on Patreon. One of them was about the BBC pedo ring that I'm talking about now, and the other video was about the Parliament ring. I have exposed Parliament. There has been countless members of Parliament who have been tied to a ring and tied to liking underage women, underage girls, underage boys. And obviously the BBC is owned by the government. And again, this proves that they traffic these children amongst each other.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it started, it was just me and Savile. He did his abuse. And if anything, if it can turn more horrifying...
Well, we won't go into details, just for you, Kevin.
Yeah,
it's not fair on you today. So,
and there was a knock at the door. Another man entered the room. And if it could have got more horrifying, it did. The second man took part. He was physically hitting me, which Savile actually stopped him, grabbed his arm. And then it just stopped as if nothing had happened. Savile issued a threat. The other man went. And then it was a normal day for them.
When he was physically hitting you, was he saying anything to you?
No, the man was physically hitting me with a clenched fist on top of the head.
At 9 years old?
Yep. And at one point, Savile grabbed his arm and sort of stopped him from hitting me.
They think you're making things up because they think, you're just trying to get some money, do something. You're 5 minutes of fame. If I wanted that, why have I kept quiet for 35 years? I want justice, and I'm fed up with people looking at me like I'm dirty and disgusting because of what that man did to me. I'm the victim. They have to pay, and the police should have done their job.
The earliest complaint about Savile was in 1963. A man who told Cheshire Police he'd been raped was told to move on and forget about it. The next year, Savile was named in police intelligence as a vice ring member preying on underage girls, but detectives never followed it up. In the 70s, a man reported an assault on his girlfriend during a Top of the Pops recording. Police told him he could be arrested for such a claim. And in 1998, an anonymous letter was received by Scotland Yard, alleging Savile was a deeply committed pedophile.
We can even see from that interview I played a minute ago of one of Savile's survivors, the man, he was saying that another man joined in, was punching him in the back of the head. What is this? And as I said a minute ago, there was a report from Dame Janet Smith that was published in 2016, and that showed the BBC staff missed numerous opportunities to stop Savile from committing these offences. She identified 72 people who were the victims of these crimes while he worked at the BBC. The youngest was 10 years old. The earliest incident was the rape of a 13-year-old girl in 1959. And some of his other offences continued up to 2006 at the last recording of the Top of the Pops. The review found misconduct to have been committed at virtually every one of the BBC premises at which he worked. Notice I said Top of the Pops. That is very, very interesting. This man you see on your screen goes by the name of Jonathan King. Jonathan King was a music mogul who used his fame, like everyone else, to have intercourse with young boys by promising them intercourse with girls. He used his status to exploit them. In 2001, King was convicted of child SA and sentenced to 7 years in prison for having SA'd 5 boys aged 14 and 15 in the 80s. In 2001, he was acquitted of 22 similar charges. He was released on parole in 2005. A further trial for more offences against teenage boys resulted in a not guilty verdict, and the trial being abandoned in June 2018. Shock, it got abandoned. A prolific nonce who did a madness on young boys gets found not guilty not long afterwards. But check this out. In the 1980s, King appeared on radio and television in the UK, including BBC's Top of the Pops. In 90 to 91, he produced the Brit Awards, and in 97, he selected and produced the winning British entry for the Eurovision Song Contest. Top of the Pops, Jimmy Savile. Yeah, Jimmy Savile was still alive when Jonathan King was active. The same man who did the madness on children. This is a ring. If you don't know, guys, let me give you the definition. A child sex ring is a group of adults who are simultaneously involved sexually with multiple minors during the same general time frame. The dynamics of these rings differ from those of more common one-on-one intrafamilial cases in that they are more organized and run over a long period of time. We are looking at a BBC ring here, guys, allegedly. Now, the next person on our list goes by the name of Rolf Harris. Rolf Harris became a national treasure after arriving from Australia and even had a hit song called Two Little Boys. What the hell? He was so powerful that he was awarded all these honors and even had the Queen sit for him for a portrait. These are the type of people he was dealing with. A man who works for the BBC, a national treasure, was getting all these MBEs and OBEs, and he even had Queen Elizabeth II herself sit for him for a portrait. So this goes all the way to the top. Rolf Harris groomed and molested a friend of his daughter from the age of 13 onwards. The court heard the victim used alcohol to cope from the age of 14. And she was targeted by Harris until she was 29 years old. The prosecution told Southwark Crown Court Mr. Harris, 84, was a Jekyll and Hyde character whose fame and reputation made him untouchable. He had further alleged victims. His alleged victims were aged between 7 or 8 and 19 when the offences are said to have taken place. 7 of the 12 counts are alleged to have been carried out on one victim, his daughter's friend, who lived near the Harris family in South London in the 60s. Telling the jury about other alleged victims, we were told that one was 7 or 8 years old when she queued to get an autograph from Mr. Harris at the community centre in Portsmouth. She said he signed an autograph for her, then touched her inappropriately, leaving her in shock. In other incidents, he started rubbing himself against a 15-year-old girl at a pub in London and touched a 24-year-old makeup artist in Australia, both in 1986. Look at the time frame. It fits the timeline of our ring. Once again, the BBC did absolutely nothing because Rolf Harris threatened legal action if they ran a particular story. As you can see, when Operation U-Tree began investigating Harris in 2013, his lawyers warned media outlets, including the BBC, against naming him, threatening libel action. The BBC chose not to run the story at the time. Are we seeing a theme here, guys? People abusing their power, using alcohol, which you'll see as a theme as well, using their fame to get what they want, and the BBC being blind, deaf and dumb to what's going on. The next person on our list is my favourite, Timmy. So Tim Molestwood is a prolific predator who's targeted black women since the 80s, well into the 2000s. We know that Tim Molestwood has been charged with 4 counts of rape on multiple different young women, usually around the age 17. I'm not going to go into too much detail about Timmy Noncewood because I've done multiple videos about him. If you're new here, you'll know that I personally despise Noncewood because 5-6 years ago when I was exposing him, years before this came out, he was removing my videos for defamation and he came inches away from getting my YouTube shut down with bogus claims. Now I want to give a special shout out to Mike Righteous as well, because every single time I do videos about Noncewood, I keep forgetting about Mike. Mike Righteous was the first person to actually expose Noncewood early, way before me, long time ago, like long time ago.
Westwood was synonymous with this rumor that he just liked them young, bro. Like, yeah. I mean, you can sit here and say, yeah, allegedly, but it was just wherever he went, there was this sort of stench of there's this guy, Tim Westwood, and yeah, he's definitely creepy. Like, he's definitely like some young.
But in terms of this YouTube space, I was very early in this space, and Paedophile was as well, getting on his neck. So yeah, but once again, have a look at this. BBC apologizes for missed opportunities to tackle DJ Tim Noncewood over bullying and misogynistic behavior. The BBC has apologised for missing chances to take action against Noncewood after an external review concluded that the former presenter's conduct was entirely incompatible with the BBC values. Shock. The BBC missed opportunities. We're sorry. We're sorry.
We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry.
We're sorry that we heard all about what Timmy Nonswood was getting involved with for 30 years. We're sorry that we missed the opportunity to do anything about it. Are we seeing a theme here, guys? The best case scenario, the BBC are completely useless and incompetent and a terrible organization to work for, to be a part of in any way, shape or form. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is they are a ring that know exactly what's happening and they are part of the problem, allegedly. Yeah, so you let me know what you think. You know what the answer is. Next, and I think final on our list, is a man who goes by the name of Stuart Hall, another BBC associated person. Stuart Hall was a presenter for the BBC and he was on trial in 2014 for 15 counts of rape and 5 counts of indecent assault against 2 girls that happened from, look at this time period, 1976 to 1981. He was convicted of 2 counts of indecent assault, but was acquitted of all other charges. Crazy how he gets acquitted of all these other ones, isn't it? The former television and radio broadcaster Stuart Hall conditioned 2 young girls to accept years of SA at his hands. He manipulated them until they became subservient and submissive to his demands. It's said that he started targeting one of the girls while she was under 13 and he was in his 40s. The broadcaster, then a television celebrity, allegedly raped one girl after taking her as his guest to the former BBC studios in Manchester. So you're telling me Savills, the Stuart Halls, all these people who have used BBC premises, yeah? You're telling me that no one saw what happened? They snuck them in through the back door. Bro, I know for a fact hundreds of people would have seen what these guys are into. They would have seen them chilling with young girls, gone into a room privately, alone, coming back out afterwards, then getting another young girl. They would have seen this. Producers would have seen this. Directors would have seen this. Senior leadership team would have seen this, allegedly. Now check this. The prosecution says the 14-year-old was plied with alcohol before submitting to his SA and later being taken home in his car. She did not complain at the time, apparently, the court said. The girl, now in her early 50s, is one of 2 women who came forward after Hall was jailed last year. And have a look at this. BBC management was aware of Stuart Hall's SA on premises. Members of the BBC management in Manchester were aware of pedo Stuart Hall's inappropriate conduct in his dressing room. A report has found, exactly like I just said. It said rumours circulated within Piccadilly Gardens office and it was likely he could have been prevented from committing criminal offences. The ex-presenter 86 was jailed in 2013 after admitting indecently assaulting 13 girls, one as young as 9, between 67 and 85. And look what the BBC had to say. The BBC said, we're sorry. It had failed victims.
We are deeply sorry.
Need I say more? If I wanted to dive deeper, I absolutely could. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the BBC not only looked the other way, they encouraged this behaviour, allegedly. They endorsed everything that these people were doing. There's no way you can sit here and tell me anything different. This was a ring. Now, whether you can argue, you can say that maybe the people at the top didn't know about this, it's obviously bollocks, but it's clearly, the BBC is clearly a pedo ring. Men from as early as 1950s all the way up until 2017 with Tim Westwood, let's do the maths, that is 67 years of systemic abuse of children and young women and young boys. Let's not call them women, let's call them young girls. This is an absolute disgrace. It's disgusting. And there's no denying it. There is no arguing here. This is a fact, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, it's a dark one. It's a deep one. But you know me, I'm always going to expose the darkness and expose how demonic these people in positions of power really, really are. They always use their influence. They use their power, exactly like Diddy, exactly like any celebrity you want that's been guilty of these things. They groom young boys and girls. They tell them this, that, and the other. They blow smoke up their ass and they give them opportunities just like that flipping disgusting Philip Nonsfield, yeah, using his position to get that poor boy in positions and then enter the relationship with him when he was a teenager, yeah, and he was 50 years old. They use their power and they take advantage of young people. They ply them with alcohol and drugs. It's disgusting. This was a ring and they the same type of people to each other. I'm sure that one person who got essayed by one of the people probably got essayed by other people in the same sphere, the same space. I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it's a dark one. If you made it to the end of this video, I want you to post 3 tombstone emojis, because we wish death on every single one of these predators. Yeah, I'm not going to mince my words. These lot deserve worse than death. Put 3 tombstone emojis if you made it to the end. I know you're a loyal one and you've listened to everything I had to say. I really hope to see you at the next deep dive. I've got another video coming soon this week talking about Ian Watkins who got murked in jail. Another nonce, another disgusting nonce. Literally, oh my goodness, there's so many of them. He got damn near decapitated in jail. Thank God, those lot are heroes. Rest in peace, Ian, and everyone else who died. Fuck them, and I'll see you lot at the next video. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay vigilant. Peace.